will call the Board of Trustees meeting to order. And if we'd all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Treasurer Brown, you just might want to announce the date, please.
January 6th, 2026.
Thank you.
We're going to get a roll call.
I think you have to appoint a chair first.
I make a motion to appoint Treasurer Brown as the acting chair of the January 6th, 2026 meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
This will be a roll call. Treasurer Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Hayward,
No.
Trustee Morocco,
No.
Trustee Tedder,
No.
Trustee Nalamothu, yes. Supervisor File and Clerk Newbeck are absent this evening. I'll do a roll call.
Well,
Oh, we have to,
we have to appoint somebody.
yep.
I'll nominate Sam Morocco to chair tonight with his vast experience as chairing.
I'll support.
There's a motion on the floor to appoint Sam Morocco as acting chair of the meeting, seconded by Trustee Tedder. Another roll call. Treasurer Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Hayward,
Yes.
Trustee Morocco,
Yes.
Trustee Tedder,
Yes.
and Trustee Nalamothu, no. Motion carried.
All right, as far as appointing a secretary, Dan, what would be the,
You can make a motion to appoint the secretary to the meeting.
I'll make a motion to appoint trustee Namathu as the secretary for the meeting.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I
Aye.
have to
Aye.
do a roll call, sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you seconded.
Yes.
There was a motion by Trustee Morocco to appoint Trustee Nalamothu as acting secretary, seconded by Trustee Hayward. Treasurer Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Hayward,
Yes.
Trustee Morocco.
Yes,
Trustee Tedder,
Yes.
and Trustee Nalamothu, yes. Motion carried.
okay, approval of the agenda. Does anybody want to amend or accept the agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
I'd like to add an agenda item.
Support?
I'd like to re-add the special rules of procedure that was in the consent agenda earlier today, but that was removed.
Support? Any other
Just
amendments?
add it to regular business. So I'd like to not put it in the consent agenda, but add it to regular business.
Okay, that would be,
Item
we'd be
2,
moving it to regular business L2.
yes.
Is there, I gave support.
I'm sorry, which one was it? I'm trying to write this.
That's
'cause she
okay.
only had
It would have
a
been
couple.
the consent, it would have been.
Item 4 under
This item 4 from the
Consent
Oh,
consent
number
agenda.
4,
Yeah.
okay.
Do we need a roll call for that, to accept the agenda? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay?
So,
It was seconded before the amendment was made. We need to re-second it, right?
No, actually, I think I did have a moving party and a second. but if you want to work, you know.
I don't know,
clarify
if
it,
you think it's fine, that's fine.
I had trustee Hayward and trustee Morocco supporting the special rules.
Correct. Okay, so we've accepted the agenda as amended, moving that item, consent agenda 4 to regular business L2.
Right, Sister Francis invited me to volunteer. I wanted to help. You think I'm stupid and
Oops.
Okay, are there any board announcements tonight?
Yes.
Okay, we gotta have a vote
Yeah, there,
Oh.
sorry, we have to have a vote.
on the agenda ad.
Oh,
Okay.
And we'll approve the.
it didn't need to
agenda
be a roll call. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Seeing none, motion carries. Agenda's approved. Are there any,
So, I'm sorry, we have to take the roll call vote on it, the amended agenda being accepted.
Right, so now you've added the special rules, now you approve the agenda.
And
roll
I'll
call,
make a
please?
motion to, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
Treasurer Brown,
Yes.
trustee Hayward,
Yes.
trustee Nalamothu, yes. Trustee Tedder,
Yes.
trustee Morocco.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
Sorry for that, ladies and gentlemen. That was a little, a little rough to get through, but, okay, we're off and running. Board announcements? Are there any?
Yes.
Mr. Hayward, please.
Yes, I did have the opportunity, and Sam was there as well, as we celebrate our 250th anniversary of this country. The American Revolution Experience Traveling Display, or the traveling exhibit, is at the Clarkston Independence Township Library, and we have a proclamation recognizing the American Revolution Experience Traveling Exhibit. I'm just going to go ahead and read it. Whereas the year 2026 is the 250th anniversary of the creation of the Declaration of Independence and the beginning of the American Revolution. Whereas the American Revolution Experience Traveling Exhibit provides illustrations of impactful events of the American Revolution for individuals, families, and the community. Whereas the American Revolution Experience Travel Exhibit invites visitors to consider the choices of the revolutionary generation made in 1776, the exhibit surfaces diverse viewpoints and experiences of the generation. Whereas the American Revolution Experience Traveling Exhibit shares the diverse viewpoints of men and women, patriots and loyalists, Black and Native populations, and their international allies. Whereas the American Revolution Traveling Exhibit was created through a collaboration between the American Battlefield Trust and the Daughters of the American Revolution, now therefore the Independence Township Board of Trustees encourages their residents to visit the American Revolution Experience Traveling Exhibit at the Clarkston Independence District Library at 6495 Orion, well, it says Orion Road, but we know it's Clarkston Road, upon its arrival, Sunday, December 4th. This is incorrect as well, I'm sorry. These were January. It started yesterday. The grand opening was yesterday. It started on Sunday, and it will run through this Saturday, January 10th, 2026. And this is the proclamation that's part of the consent agenda. I saw it. It's wonderful. You learn a lot of things about our country and what happened 250 years ago. So, thank you.
Are there any other board announcements?
Just Happy New Year to everybody.
Very good.
Hope everyone has a safe, healthy, and prosperous 2026.
Very good. Are there any public announcements? This is different than public comments. Is there any public announcements right now? Anybody? Seeing none. Online, are there anybody that would like to make a public announcement? Okay, seeing none. We're going to move to public comment. So these are items that are not on the agenda, but I'm going to just go through what was advertised on the agenda and what's been removed from the agenda, so people understand that if they do want to talk about items that were removed from the agenda this afternoon due to the supervisor's absence and he was presenting them, they are appointments to the Downtown Development Authority, appointments to the Planning Commission, appointments to the Safety Path Advisory Committee, his appointments to the Video Administration Board, and appointments to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Those items have been removed from the agenda, so if you were here to discuss those items, you may now talk about them at this point in the meeting.
You can or cannot?
You can, yep. Those are now items that are not on the agenda and are available for discussion at this point in the meeting.
I know this isn't appropriate, but he added something onto the agenda that was taken off.
He did, and that was the board rule, proposed changes to the board's rules on how we operate, and that is now on the agenda.
But
Which
it is no longer online.
it is no longer online.
For
It-
the,
It's not in the packet that's online currently. It was removed when the agenda was amended.
how is that fair that you're going to do that when you've removed it and the public doesn't know it?
Well, it was online since last year till 4 hours ago. So it was posted in the illegal amount of time it was notified to the public. It was online and available for review for, I think, 10 days, which is longer than necessary, and it was only removed 4 hours ago. So I would not assume that that is, if you're just finding out about it within the last 4 hours, that would be an issue, but
I know, I ran it off for my husband because he wanted to see the agenda and everything is gone.
right.
So if someone went like I did, 20 minutes before I walked out of the house, it's all canceled, they're not here. That isn't appropriate.
Excuse me, I don't know if she needs to be at the podium, because, yeah.
There's gonna be a back and forth.
Okay. Would you like to go to the podium and state your name and address, please?
Just count towards my 5 minutes. My questions, because this is totally inappropriate that it's been taken off.
All right,
There will be-
which
there will-
item are we talking about? The board rules?
Yes,
We're going to be discussing them.
but they're no longer visible for people online. I wasn't gonna come because it was taken off. I decided because of the 5 minutes away, I was coming anyway. My name is Sharon Bassell. I live at 5616 Nob Hill Circle. I have other things to say besides this, but this seems totally out of protocol because I wasn't going to come. I have a lot to say
About
there's-
that particular item?
about that and a number of other things, but definitely a lot to say about that particular, those two particular items.
Okay, well, I would wait until that's on the agenda so we can have that dialogue. Would you like
Well, I'll use my 5 minutes because I want people to know that they need to read this and it needs to be put back online.
You can't talk about an agenda item in public comment now.
right,
Everything else, right.
right.
I have extremely, so I cannot discuss the rules.
Not current, not at this
Okay.
time, no.
All right.
Your other items, absolutely.
Okay. My biggest issue coming here is finding out that Mr. Morocco is possibly going to be removed from the Planning Commission. And the only way that he can be removed from the Planning Commission, according to state law MCL 125-36101, Item 6, statutes of the Zoning Board of Appeals and Planning Commission. A member of the Planning Commission may only be removed for malfeasance or non-malfeasance in office with written charges being given to him and after a public hearing. His tenure does not end until his tenure on this trustee board ends, and he is being unlawfully removed from his position. He is, as far as I know, no one has accused him of any malfeasance or non-malfeasance, and this is state law. And this needs to be known to the public, because Sam is I don't know him except for coming here. But I support him because he says things so we know as a public what's going on. And it is totally inappropriate that that Mr. File, I believe, or Ms. Newbeck, both signed that form to remove him. There's also state law for Ms. Billings that I don't know if I don't know her, I heard that she still wants to be on the commission. Her commission ran out. In your own rules, she has to be notified by the clerk that her time is running out, just in case she didn't know. And I am in full support of following the state law with this one also, because she is the only female on that commission. And your job, according to state law, I have them all if you want them, I can email them to you, is to make sure that that commission, according to state law, represents this community well. And you take off the one female on that committee, I am no longer represented on that committee. Half of our township is no longer represented on that committee, and that is inappropriate. It is inappropriate, he's not here to say anything, that Mr. File wants to then appoint a friend of his, who is in the same business as he is, the same business I believe as your son is involved in this charity. And the public absolutely has the right to know who is being vetted and why they're here and what they do. And this board has sworn that they're going to be transparent. And the other two things on the agenda later are absolutely not transparent, but removing people from positions on boards that they have served extremely well and dedicated to, because somebody else on this board wants somebody to be appointed, is wrong. And it is violating Michigan state law, is violating the Michigan state law about planning commissions. And I want somebody to make a motion to remove it. I have the right to request that according to state law and Robert's Rules of Order and the Open Meetings Act and everything else. I have done my homework. And I hope everybody that watches this understands Mr. Morocco has not done anything wrong. Not one person on this board, not one person in this community has accused him of any kind of malfeasance. He cannot be, according to state law, removed from this commission.
Thank you. Anyone else? Name and address, please.
Okay. Norm Freschke, 7199 Deer Lake Court. This was on the agenda, so I can talk to it now. It's the appointment of the Planning Commission. I think the whole thing is the board should be going for the best qualified person that is vetted, and I'd like to see a list of who's actually up for the job before. I would hope that all the trustees get a list and can see their backgrounds, understand them way before a vote would come on. I think that should be given to the general public, that list before the meeting, that people have a chance to respond to those things. I'd be interested to know from the lawyer if it is illegal to remove Sam from his position. That would be nice to understand if that's the case or not, since that was read, I would assume, from a something that's governing that process. I would hope the qualifications are such that a builder understands what is needed to grow the community properly. I think Sam has demonstrated many times, that he's following the master plan that has been reported by surveys, a lot of other ways to gain that information from the public. He's standing up for green space. That's what the residents want. If you have the residents supporting, keep in mind, if you're a trustee, you are representing the residents, not anybody else. The residents and what they're looking for. He's a longstanding citizen. I think he's the best one for the job. He's transparent. And I really feel just because someone voices his opinion, that is the residents' opinion, that he should not be held back or tried to stifle, that's exactly what the trustees are here to do. So that was the spiel. It was on the agenda, but I was surprised to see it because there was not much information, about it there. So unless I missed it, and I could be corrected there. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go online. Anybody online like to speak? Ray, you got your hand up? Can't hear you, dear. Can you unmute? Okay. Technical difficulty? Anyone else online?
Hey,
Oh,
I'm here.
there you go.
Sandy, I'm here. Sandy, I'm here.
Nick of time. All right.
Okay, so Ray Llewellyn, 9254 Pine Knot Road. I just want to say this to all of the board, present or absent. We elected you people to be transparent. We elected you to represent our views, not just what you thought or who you're buds with or who you're friends with or who you're not friends with. We elected you to represent us, the voters, the residents, in our interests and our issues and our concerns. When myself and my husband, Arnie Llewellyn, read over the agenda, to start with, taking away the roll call. I personally think that that is out of control, wrong, and as a
Ray,
resident,
Ray?
Yes. Yes.
We moved that onto the agenda as item
Okay.
number 2, so that what you're talking about will be discussed shortly.
okay, then this I know that two other people have already commented about. To me, whether you're best friends with Sam or you can't stand him, he does one thing excellent, and that is he represents the residents of Independence Township, and he represents them all, every single person. And it's not just his ideas. If we come to Sam about issues or ideas, he brings it to the board. He also gets us out the information telling us, hey, wake up, folks. It's a new day, and there's a meeting tonight at 6 o'clock. If you can't be here in person, log in online. So to me, Sam is a vital part in our governmental process for Independence Township, and him staying on the planning commission is extremely important. And I just, on a positive thing to everyone that's there, well, back to about this agenda and pulling half of it off, I will say, I recognize that she's not sitting there tonight, but I am absolutely stunned that Carrie Newbeck would co-sign or sign off or whatever onto what Chuck wanted, because Carrie is the clerk, and I would think that she would be extra studious as far as what should be on the agenda and what not. But with that being said, to everyone that is there in person and online, happy 2026. And you know what? Let's keep Independence Township the way the residents want it. And that is, we don't need to have every tree cut down. We don't need to have every business come into place. We need to have the residents' voices heard. Thank you very much. And again, Happy New Year.
Thank you, Ray. Is there anyone else online? Public comment on something that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, we have no public hearings. We have no presentations or reports, carryovers, postponed. The consent agenda. is request to approve the Board of Trustees regular closed session meeting minutes of December 16th, 2025. Request to ratify the December 18th, 2025 check run, including ACH $1,494,222.89, and ratify the December 19th, 2025 payroll at $342,792.76, and request to accept the American Revolution Experience Traveling Exhibit proclamation that Trustee Hayward shared with us earlier.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Seeing none? All right. No item was removed from the consent agenda, actually. We are at regular business. If Chief Boucher would please come up, you're the first thing, requesting to approve the first reading of the Independence Township Cost Recovery Ordinance. Chief, if you could please give us the scoop on what you're asking.
Yep. So I have a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, and I also have some notes. So for the first half of the slides, I'm going to read directly off the notes because I want to be precise with this ordinance and be able to be factual and explain it. So you can follow along on the PowerPoint behind you, and I'll kind of go slide by slide. Once we're done with the first half of those slides, I'm going to go into some FAQs that I put another grouping of slides that we can explain and talk about.
Very good, thank you.
I guess to start with, obviously I'm proposing the Fire Department Cost Recovery Ordinance tonight for the first reading. The purpose of the presentation is to explain what the ordinance does, when it may apply, and how it benefits Independence Township. I want to be very clear from the start that this proposal does not change emergency services or create any new tax. It simply gives the township a fair mechanism to recover eligible costs from responsible parties. Purpose of the ordinance. The ordinance is designed to do the following: to ensure fairness in how eligible responses costs are paid, to recover extraordinary costs from the parties that caused the incident when allowed by law, and to protect the general taxpayers in the township in certain incidents like hazardous materials or extended utility standby. Our costs for the fire department can be very high. This ordinance makes sure those costs are not automatically placed on the residents who had nothing to do with the event. Well, what the ordinance is and not. There's often confusion about ordinances like this, which is why I wanted to do it this way and kind of go step by step. But to help simplify it, it is a legal tool for limited fee recovery of eligible costs. It's not a tax, it's not a penalty for calling 911, and it is not applied to routine emergencies. Our fire department will continue to respond exactly as we do today. This only comes into play after the response and only for specific defined circumstances that within the ordinance. Legal authority. The township has clear legal authority to adopt this ordinance. That authority comes from Michigan Public Act 33, 1951, specifically MCL 401.806A. Michigan townships have used the statute for many years to recover certain emergency service costs. We are following the same legal framework already used successfully by other communities in Oakland County and throughout the state. What is a recoverable cost? Recoverable costs are actual documented expenses. They include things like personnel costs, apparatus use, specialized equipment, and contracted services directly tied to an incident. The key point is that these are not estimates or general charges. They are real operational costs that the township incurred while handling a specific event. When cost recovery may apply. This slide lists some examples where cost recovery may be pursued: hazardous material responses, technical rescues, extended utility standbys, certain motor vehicle crashes, and staffing for special events. These are situations that go beyond the normal day-to-day calls for the fire department. The ordinance gives the fire department the ability to evaluate those incidents and determine whether they fall within the eligibility guidelines established by the board. Motor vehicle incidents and insurance. If a driver is operating illegally, for example, a DUI or reckless driving, no license, the township may seek reimbursement through their insurance. Importantly, this mirrors how other direct crash costs are handled today, such as towing or roadway cleanup. In nearly all cases, any fees would be billed to insurance carriers, not to residents. Utility standby and special events. Utility companies sometimes require our crews to remain on scene for long periods of time due to down lines or gas leaks. Taxes cover the first hour. After that, the additional costs are tied up to the utility issue so the companies can be billed. The same logic applies to special events. If the fire department provides dedicated staffing that benefits a private organizer, it is appropriate for those costs to be reimbursed rather than subsidized by the general public. Fee control and oversight. This ordinance is structured so the township board maintains control. All actual fees are set by board resolution. Revenue is not budgeted as guaranteed income, and all bills and decisions are subject to board review. That oversight ensures transparency and protects against misuse of this. Exceptions and protections. There are strong protections built in. Township-owned properties are exempt. Good intent emergency calls are exempt. Routine non-transport to hospital medical emergencies are exempt. This ordinance only targets extraordinary incidents involving businesses, insurance-covered events, or preventable activities. Residents should never fear that asking for help will result in a charge. Appeals and hardship process. Anyone who receives a bill has a clear appeal process with this ordinance. Appeals can be submitted in writing within 14 days. The township board reviews every appeal, and the board can adjust or waive fees based on hardship or fairness. This guarantees that no one is denied due process. Why the ordinance matters. From a practical standpoint, extraordinary incidents can quickly impact the fire budget. This ordinance helps maintain financial sustainability without raising taxes. Even partial reimbursement can offset personnel and equipment costs and contracted services directly tied to the incident. More importantly, it ensures that our fire department can continue to provide top-level service while the township protects the interests of its residents. What the ordinance does not do. To reinforce the message, it does not reduce services, it does not delay response, and it does not charge for calling 911. And it does not apply to normal resident emergencies. Those assurances are critical to understand. So we'll go into the FAQs now that I've put together. So again, why is the township adopting a fire department cost recovery ordinance? The ordinance allows the township to recover extraordinary eligible emergency response costs that has been built into the ordinance, and it spells it out, from parties whose actions were properly directly caused or benefit from those services. This ensures that the general taxpayers are not unfairly subsidizing high-cost, avoidable, commercial use incidents and preserving our core fire services to do the job they're here for. Is this a new tax or general fee on residents? No, very simply no. This is not a tax. It is a limited fee for service ordinance that applies only to specific defined incidents, as I've already spoke about, most often involving insurance-covered events, businesses, utilities, or intentional or repeated non-emergency use of fire department resources. What legal authority allows the township to do this? Again, I already read that off to you. By law, allows the townships to recover costs. Impact on residents. Will residents be charged for calling 911? Again, no. Calling 911 was always free. Routine non-transport to a hospital medical emergencies, accidental fires, good intent calls, and rescue calls remain fully tax supported and no additional charges. Part 2, does this discourage people from calling for help? No. Emergency response is unconditional. The ordinance applies after the response and only in defined circumstances found within the ordinance. There's no penalty for requesting emergency assistance. Motor vehicle accidents. Again, we spoke about this. If a driver was operating a motor vehicle illegally, examples, a DUI, reckless driving, no license, as detailed within the ordinance, we may do a cost recovery, may be applied. Why should the insurance companies pay for these particular accidents? It's a direct cost of a vehicle incident, similar to towing or a cleanup. The insurance companies already build that into their policies. And could this increase insurance premiums? That's no. There's no evidence that a properly structured cost recovery ordinance increase premiums. Emergency response costs are already built into the actual models of the insurance policies. Healthcare and care facilities. Why are lift assist calls at healthcare facilities billed? Healthcare facilities are businesses responsible for staffing their own business and providing the equipment. Repeated non-emergency lift assists to these facilities consume significant EMS resources and is an operational issue, not a taxpayer subsidy obligation. At these facilities, will these patients themselves be billed? No, it's the facility itself. And just by example, over the last 3 years, we've had nearly 800 calls for lift assist at our top 8 largest facilities in the township. We have approximately 26 facilities. This is only taken in the 8 largest. So we typically get calls daily to go help a resident off the floor, back into bed at these health care facilities because they no longer want to provide that service. So they're using the fire department to come over now and help deal with these issues with no help by the workers there or the facility. So it's become a nuisance to a certain level because we're tying up a rescue truck or a station to go over there for a non-emergency lift assist when maybe there's a real emergency that's going on in a township that now those firefighters or that station is tied up on. So it continues year by year. We're getting more and more of these calls because more and more of these facilities have learned to use the fire department to subsidize their own workforce. So we're looking for some relief here. This is a biggie for the fire department to get some relief. And to be perfectly honest, it's not about imposing a cost recovery to make money on going to do a lift assist. Our hope is that this will deter these healthcare facilities in the future from calling us out there. We want them to do their own work and avoid using us so that we can do our mission, which is to go on 911 emergency calls to help people in a true need.
Chief?
Yep.
Chief, if I may, while you're on the slide. So healthcare facilities, clearly you're speaking of nursing homes, rehab facilities, but I'm assuming also senior living communities, both independent, assisted, and beyond, like, et cetera?
Any facility that they normally should be helping the residents, I can't speak to totally independent living, but anything
Okay.
that,
There is an expectation that said service would be provided as part of their monthly rent or payment?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and just as time has evolved, we run into situations with some of our facilities. forbid their own employees to pick somebody up off the floor who's slipped off the chair, they're on the floor. They leave them there, they won't touch them. They call us, then we gotta get there. We may not even be available. So let's say all 3 of my fire stations are tied up on a structure fire. So this person lays on the floor until someone can get over there to help them. This is what this has turned into with these facilities. And it's evolved over time where they know now they just call 911 and we come out and pick them up. Which again, we don't mind helping people, but it's pulling our resources for non-emergency stuff so that when we do have an emergency, we don't have the personnel. So it's kind of reached a high level, a crisis level, and we're trying to find some relief, so. What if a lift assist turns into a medical emergency? We do have those where we get called for a lift assist, and when we get there, our paramedics check the patient out before they lift the patient, and maybe the patient did hurt themselves. So at that point, it becomes not a lift assist, but a medical emergency. So at that point, we move forward with the medical emergency part of it. No fee is applied for the lift assist, and we just move forward as a normal medical run. Utility responses. Again, we talked a little bit, when a down power lines or gas leaks require our fire crews to remain on scene for extended periods. What that means is, if we can just go back about a week ago when we had numerous down lines in the township, what happens is we get called to these power lines down throughout the township. Our guys are all over the community, and we have to go, A, check to see if the line is actually down, and then 2, determine if it's unsafe for the public. Meaning, can someone walk up that line and grab it, get electrocuted, so on and so forth. If there is a safety issue with that power line, then our crews have to remain on scene until DTE shows up with their crews. So what happens is there's great delays. It can be hours while our crews are sitting on a down line waiting for DTE to come and relieve them. So this is another issue. This has been an ongoing issue for many years. And this is again why we want to impose a cost recovery on this. We will cover them for the first hour, but after that hour, the expectation is that they're going to have somebody on scene to relieve our crews. So again, we can go on other runs, go on other emergencies, and not be tied up, essentially babysitting their down power line. So we're looking for relief from that, and I put a little note at the bottom that over the past 3 years, we've responded to approximately 260 calls such as those. That ties up our crews, our equipment, so on and so forth. So again, this is a part of the cost recovery. Technical rescue involves specialized training and equipment such as trench rescue, rope, confined space rescue, and complex extrications. These responses typically exceed routine operations and may require mutual aid. And I said may. They almost all require mutual aid from other communities to come help deal with these runs. These are long-term runs with a lot of equipment, a lot of time involved. And again, cost recovery is being put into this so that we may choose to use it if we think so. Hazardous material responses, basically almost the same as the tech rescue, all the same stuff. But what's important here with these, and these are probably more common than the technical rescue ones. If you can imagine vehicles going, I'm just trying to give you a good example, going down I-75 and a vehicle's carrying a hazardous material, it gets in an accident, it churns over, flips over, and leaks out its hazardous materials into the roadway, into the grassy areas and all that. We have to go out there and deal with that issue and mitigate it. And what we want to have in our, I guess, our ability to cost recover back to the company that owns that vehicle to pay for the cleanup. The cleanup of hazardous materials can cost tens of thousands of dollars, and we don't want to be on the hook in the township here that we're paying for that cleanup. When we're out there, we may have to expedite and call companies in to actually do the cleanup for us, but we do not want to obviously cover that bill. We want the ability within this ordinance to pass on that cost to the owner of the vehicle, the owner of the company that has the chemicals, so on and so forth. This is one of the earlier cost recovery ordinances that went in for many communities out of Michigan. I'm going to date myself because I started in '85 in another fire department. We already had cost recovery for hazardous materials in 1985. We don't have it here today for Independence Township. This needs to be put in place to safeguard so that we're not footing the bill for these types of issues. Billing, fees, and collection, who sets the actual fees? Again, all fees are set by Township Board resolution, not by the fire department. This ensures transparency, flexibility, and board oversight. Township Board oversight is obviously central to this ordinance. Is there an appeal process? Yes, I already spoke of that. Anyone billed may submit a written appeal 14 days out. Appeals are reviewed by the Board of Trustees, which may reduce or waive fees based on hardship or fairness. No one is denied fairness or review. Does a fire chief have unlimited discretion? Absolutely not. The fire chief administers the ordinance, but all decisions are appealable to the Township Board, which has final authority. Fees themselves are set by the board. Are township-owned properties billed? Nope. Fires involving township buildings, grounds, or property are explicitly exempt. Why adopt this ordinance now? The ordinance modernizes township policy to reflect today's operational realities and to protect the financial interests of the taxpayers and efficient service delivery. Independence Township is aligning with widely used Michigan best practices, as many communities have already done. I threw a couple examples in there that Orion Township and Oxford Township have adopted cost recovery ordinances over the past 5 years. And I can speak to that many communities in Oakland County have already had cost recovery in place for many years. And at the bottom, I just put this is responsible governance, not reactive policy. My recommendation, adopt the fire department cost recovery ordinance, approve future fee schedules by board resolution, which will come at the second reading if this ordinance tonight is approved for the first reading. It ensures fairness, transparency, and fiscal responsibility. It protects taxpayers while maintaining public safety. In the closing message is balances discretion and judgment and accountability, ensures eligible costs are paid appropriately, protects emergency services and township taxpayers, represents responsible, modern, and proactive governance. And with that,
Thank you, Chief.
I'll take questions, comments.
Questions from the board?
I don't have a question, just I guess a comment that I think that it's very appropriate to collect from, people that are malicious or doing things, or like you said, you have an insurance situation to where you're hauling around hazardous material, you should be responsible for that material, not leave it up to the local municipality to take care of that cleanup and just foot the bill, because, we get enough of these calls, I would imagine as well, to some of these home care facilities and whatnot. We may have to start adding people just to do that job specifically so we can take care of the urgencies in the township as well, so.
Very well said, because that's what it's, the more we're tied up on the non-emergency runs, that leaves no resources in the township to take care of the emergency runs.
Right.
So we either start putting things like this in place to help protect us and to bring some balance. Otherwise, we're kind of in this position that all my personnel are tied up on non-emergency runs. I need now people to do the emergency runs. It's just, we need to just find that good balance.
Yeah, for sure, and it's, I saw the story today. I spoke to a person that just recently had a phenomenal experience with the fire department, and it was on Facebook, and I can only imagine if they weren't being able to be attended to because they were on a call putting somebody back in bed that, not that those persons don't belong in bed, but
Yep.
This person needed life-saving care, and they got that, actually, so.
Another great example.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, thank you.
Appreciate that.
Mr. Tedder?
Yeah,
Yes,
Chief,
sir.
yeah, thanks for the presentation. It was very informative. I'm likewise surprised that some of these more egregious examples aren't already included. The hazardous material, why should it be the township's burden to absorb someone else's neglect, recklessness, accident, what have you? Again, if we need a tow truck for our negligence, we're paying for those services, et cetera. So this makes a lot of sense. And just from, what I've read and what you presented, I don't think there's a slippery slope scenario here where this is creeping down to the residential level, right? You're having a summer bonfire and winds pick up, it gets out of control, or, kitchen fire because, you spilled some olive oil on your stove. Like we're far cry from any of those potential scenarios creeping up in the future.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sympathetic to your examples of some of these medical facilities having loved ones reside in them. And I had personally remarked that, boy, I sure hope the fire department's getting reimbursed because there's a lot of non-emergency events happening almost every
Right.
time I walked in. So
It's honestly, it's daily.
I understand. I
Daily.
sympathize. Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
I guess the one thing I'm going to assume the board realizes this, that I didn't bring up, but Dan Kelly's firm obviously helped put this ordinance together, and it's based on other ordinances that they've done for other communities in Oakland County. So we're not recreating the wheel here. This is not something brand new. It's something that's already been in place in other communities that they've helped establish this, and it works. So just wanted you to know that.
Do you have any comments? A couple things. I did have a chance to talk to the chief over this when it came out to get some of that cleared up for me in advance. I do want to thank you. You've done a great job since I've been involved with the board of continually trying to get us caught up to where we need to be to protect ourselves, whether it be equipment, this type of thing, moving the township into the future. That was, I think, a big reason to bring somebody that came from a bigger department that had some experience, and you keep identifying those things, and that's a huge benefit to the residents. I did have one question, and that's for you, Dan, because one of the things I talked to the chief about is I wanted to see the pay schedule, because before I fully understood how this ordinance was going to work, and the amount of money that we were talking could potentially sway my decision on whether I thought it was appropriate due to the fees and whatnot. And then the chief told me that we don't get to find out what the fee schedule is until the second reading. So so an example, if it was, we were gonna charge, $500 for a lift or $1,500, would make that type, not having no idea of what the cost recoveries were going to be. So could you explain why the process is the way it is?
It's not unusual. This is what we've done in all of our other communities, is to, one, adopt the ordinance so that we first can do it, and then the board at the second reading will either approve the ordinance. At that time, you'll have the fee schedule. They'll have two votes. One, to approve the ordinance, and then the second would be to discuss the fees. Do you find them reasonable and appropriate? There'll probably be support from the fire department as to why we're charging $500 or $200, because we are limited by law to only charge what our actual costs are. So that will be laid out. That resolution can be adopted on a regular basis annually. It can have some escalators built into it. So it gives the board a lot more flexibility. But you're going to see all of those fees before the ordinance is actually adopted.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be at the second reading. And from our standpoint, why put all the time and effort into doing that fee schedule if it's not even going to pass the first reading? I think that's the mentality behind it.
I think that it could have a bearing on whether we want the ordinance or not in a certain situation, not having any idea what those fee schedules are. That's why I was,
Sure.
what the penalty would be,
Sure.
whether we want to move forward to impose such a penalty. That's the reason I asked.
Yeah.
but thank
I
you.
don't know if I'm misspeaking here, but
Yeah.
I think as the board, you're gonna want, if you're in agreement that this is policy, or this ordinance is worthy, irregardless of the fees that are gonna be imposed, that you're gonna decide on, you want this ordinance in place ASAP to provide that protection. You wanna decide over the next 6 months on what the fees are gonna be and battle that out, that's one thing, but you should have the ordinance in place to provide the legal protections for the community and decide, again, if it takes a while to decide on the fees, which I can't imagine it will,
Right.
because it's gonna be in line with what other communities do. We're not gonna be out of line anywhere. And to Dan's point, it's gonna be based on real costs. What does it cost to have a fire engine go from point A to point B with 2 firemen for 2 hours? What's that cost? So it's gonna be justifiable. So that's how this is all gonna work in the end. But I guess my recommendation to the board is, do not delay the passing of this ordinance because of the fee piece.
Right,
The
no,
fees
no.
can be decided. There's 7 of you that can decide that. And it will be done, obviously, respectfully and done the right way the first time anyway, so.
I apologize
Tedder.
thank you. Apologize if I missed this. The fees, do they go to the general fund, or is there a special fund reserved for the fire?
It would just go to the fire department budget,
Okay,
because we're separate with our millage
got it.
and our own budget.
Right, okay. Makes sense.
Any other questions from the board?
Just a comment.
Treasurer Brown?
So it sounds like this is going to be done, calculating what fees may or may not be based on real information, average hourly rates, vehicle costs, fixed and variable costs related to it. We do the same thing when it comes to FOIAs. So we determine how much we'll charge for a FOIA based on, we do this every couple of years. What's the cost of the printer? What's the cost of the paper? What's the cost of ink? And then we use a rate that's equal to the lowest paid employee who could get information for the FOIAs. But we do that, and we're required to do it that way. So the fire department has to bring actual numbers that are going to support what they're charging. And if they were to do it something else, I'm pretty sure the state's probably not going to allow us to do that.
The numbers are going to be defendable at the
Yeah.
end of the day.
Yep.
That's where we're at. And again, just a reminder to everybody, this is not me here tonight or the township here tonight looking for more revenue. I would actually like all this kind of stuff never to happen. And no more lift assist, no more watching utility lines and gas lines. So we want to deter that stuff, not try to make money off that stuff. That's not the point at all. I want to leave the fire department to do what its mission is go on 911 emergency calls, so.
Very good. Trustee Almonte, do you have any? Okay, I'm going to take it out to the public. Is there anybody in the public that, yes, sir, if you could come up to the podium, please. State your name and address. Thank you, Chief.
James Bassell, 5616 Nob Hill Circle. I just wanted to say, Chief, I support the proposed ordinance. Also appreciate the numbers you gave as far as the number of lifts and the whole bit, but those are raw numbers. I'd like to know, as a taxpayer, what are the actual numbers, dollars, that we are expending right now for the hazardous waste, for the lifts, et cetera, that you've called out? Because I think that the public would like to know, how much is that gonna save us? It's one thing for you to talk about the lifts, but give me raw dollars to let me know, as a taxpayer, what it's saving our community.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that'd like to speak on this topic? Seeing none, we go online. Is there anybody online that would like to speak on this topic? Seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board for discussion and a possible motion.
Make a motion to approve the first reading of the Independence Township Cost Recovery Ordinance as presented and set the second reading for January 20th, 2026, and authorize the clerk to notice the second reading in accordance with state law.
Second.
A motion and support. Roll call, please.
Sorry, was that trustee Tedder?
Yes,
it was.
sorry.
Thank
A
you.
little soft there.
Treasurer Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Hayward,
Yes.
Trustee Morocco,
Yes.
Trustee Alamothu, yes. Trustee Tedder,
Yes.
motion carried. Sorry, I'm
Okay.
just gonna reiterate that Supervisor File and Carrie Newbeck were absent. Motion
Very
carried.
good. Thank you. We're going to move on to regular business L2. Request to approve amendments to the special rules of procedures for Board of Trustees. A little summary. Since there's no one here to make a presentation on it, there's been some rules that were submitted by the supervisor and the clerk that they'd like to discuss amending. And I'm gonna have the board talk about it. I'm gonna, because it got pulled, it didn't, we don't really have a lot, as cumbersome as it might be, I'm gonna try to go quickly through the changes, just so there's a basic summary for the residents. One of the requests is that all resolutions shall require a roll call vote be eliminated from our rules. So they're asking that there would be no more roll call votes, which, Dan, I don't know if that's legal or not.
But first of all, it's not totally accurate. When called for by state law or ordinance, we do have a roll call, and that's under paragraph 3. It says, because a roll call vote may be required by statute, when in doubt, it is best to proceed with a roll call. So we're not eliminating roll call. What these changes suggest, and it's a policy decision as to whether you want it or not, is that it's not required for every resolution that you have a roll call. So,
Okay, thank you.
yeah,
So
that's the explanation.
While you're still up there,
Yeah.
if it's not required, if it's not required a roll call, but any board member can ask to have a roll call, is that?
Yeah.
Right, so still, if someone wants a roll call, we can request that, and
Right.
Yeah, it
the board
be-
would take that roll
And not
call.
having,
In my
the-
rule of thumb, well, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna say, with not having, without having the supervisor and the clerk here who sponsored this, I don't know what, I can't speak to why, what drove the reason for why they wouldn't want roll call votes, so I don't know.
Yeah,
But I'm
that-
just,
I mean, that's
that's
a good
one thing
point.
that they're asking for, so I'm just gonna kind of,
Okay,
if
yeah.
you wanna stay there, I might need, I
Sure,
don't know about you,
sure.
Drew. That comes into play, basically, it just, the text itself is crossed out, all resolutions shall require a roll call vote has been stricken. That's what they're proposing as it goes through the document. Okay, so that's consistent with the proposed new document. They're also asking that, from our deadline as a board member to provide information to be posted on, in the newspaper and to give proper notice to the residents is currently 2 PM on Wednesday before the meeting. They're asking that we move it up till noon on Tuesday before the meeting, so that we would have less time to, they would have more time to digest that, what we're submitting. I don't know. I think, I'm gonna go on a limb, I'm just gonna say this is my personal thought, is that when the supervisor took control, he changed the date for the directors who wanted to have stuff put on the agenda to give him time to review it before it went to the clerk to be posted. And I think that he is asking that, I don't know that he doesn't, I don't know that he reviews what we submit, so I don't know if that's relevant, or they're just trying to have the deadline be the same as what the employees are required to do, and now the elected officials would be asked to do. So that's that one point. There was a clerical error in how the word procedure was spelled under agenda items. That was it. On K, they've added a whole entire section of cost responsibility for developer requested special meetings. So what has happened recently is we've had people request special meetings for the board to convene for multiple items. One was to get a liquor license, and it needed to be done right away, or they wouldn't be able to meet the state requirement to have their fundraiser at a local church, so we had a special meeting. Another one was for a development that was gonna be built in the township that had township-related delays, and they asked for a special meeting, and then the conversation came up, well, we should be compensated for the cost of the trustees that have to be paid to come to a special meeting, and those costs should be pushed onto the petitioner who's asking for a special meeting. So there's a whole section on recovering it and charging a $2,000 flat rate for anybody requesting a special meeting. Dan, I don't know that this is the right document that would go in. Wouldn't it be in a
Well,
more,
it's
more in
standardized.
an ordinance or something? Because it would need to be known for the building department and the zoning, the people coming in asking for the special meeting. Wouldn't it be in the ordinance instead of the board rules? It seems kind of out of place.
I don't think it's necessarily out of place. That could be an additional notification to developers, but remember, I mean, developers don't come in expecting to be granted a special meeting. And as we've done in the past, when they come in and they ask for a special, that's kind of an extraordinary request. This at least standardizes it in terms of what the board in the township is going to ask those developers if they grant that request for a special meeting. I'm not opposed to putting it in an ordinance, but that's a zoning ordinance. That's an amendment. That's a lot of work to start at the planning commission, move it on through and bring it back to the board.
Okay,
At least it's standardized.
It just seemed as a fee-based item, it seemed odd in a procedural manual, but.
But
here
it
nor
is
there.
voluntary, right? I mean, if they don't want a special meeting, then they don't have to, they can
Yeah, they
wait
don't
for
have to
the
pay
next-
for it if
right.
they don't, you're correct, and we'll
Right.
talk about the nuts and bolts of it when we get to that point, but
Yeah.
that is one of the other items. Also, they're asking that, so a special email was set up through the supervisor's office for board members' submittals for things to go on the agenda. And that's always been just done directly through the clerk, so she can notify it. They're requesting a change that it not only be sent to the clerk, but it also be sent to the supervisor's email that he's created for that reason also. So that our stuff would go to him at the same time it went to the clerk and not just go to the clerk. Trustee initiated agendas, that is, so no currently, an elected official can put something on the agenda. This is requesting that trustees would require support from another trustee to be able to put something on the agenda. And then they would have to sign the other trustees supporting it would have to sign a MAIF or send an email on their official email to the clerk stating they support the other elected official and what he wants to propose. So, not sure what that is, but it doesn't apply to the supervisor, clerk, or treasurer. If they're exercising their statutory or charter duties, they can submit it without any sponsorship. And then at the end, currently, these are the rules of the board, and in order to change the rules of the board, they need to be presented at a meeting prior to acting on them, so they have to go to they have to be put on the agenda or in at the bottom of a meeting. We often list off the fireman's report, future agenda items, the police report. Our rules mandate it has to go there first so it can be reviewed. It can't be acted on at the same meeting that it's being proposed. Then it has to go to the next meeting to be proposed, which is what happened. At the past meeting, under future agenda items, it said proposed, board procedure changes, and now it came to this meeting requesting that the changes be made. So they're asking to strike that out and that they can just immediately bring it to the board and get it passed without having a prior meeting and the time between the meetings to review it and go over it before it's voted on. And that is the nuts and bolts of what was proposed.
Yeah.
So now bring it up to the board for discussion on these items.
I have a question, maybe
Trustee
specifically for Dan. So this whole document was, I guess, adopted in 2016. Can you tell me what the purpose of this document was? initially?
It's
I mean,
called-
obviously I know, but
Yeah, so, I mean, it's called special rules, it's kind of bylaws
Sure.
for the board, so it's an agreement of the board as to how we're going to operate in areas that aren't necessarily covered by ordinance or statute.
So it's a pretty important document, obviously.
Yeah.
We relied on it tonight for the rules of this meeting and whatnot. One of the things that only concerned me about this, and I know that the two that proposed it aren't here to discuss it, and so I don't, a lot of the changes I don't think would should be discussed without them here to be able to defend themselves. My only concern or thought was, and I don't know what you think about it, but, you know, in Rule 30 at the very end, actually, it talks about the adoption of or amendment to and applicability of special rules, that it really suggests that these rules be changed after an election. It says that at the first available meeting subsequent to the election of a new board, the new board may adopt amendments to the existing special rules of procedure as needed. If no such amendments are adopted, the current rules shall remain in force. The only two problems that I had with this is I don't understand how it got put on the consent agenda to begin with, and of course, that wasn't the place for it. And the rules actually have been here to tell you what goes on a consent agenda and what doesn't. And my only thought and the reason to bring this up is I thought that this document was so important that it probably should have an amendment on there. And the only amendment that I would propose without, at this time, would be that it would require 2/3 votes to amend this document instead of 4. And what that does is it prevents this being changed at any time and just say, hey, let's just change it because I don't like the rules. And maybe a couple months from now, those aren't good enough, or we change them again. And I think it would almost to the same effect as the request of having 2 people or one person that wants to put something on the agenda, that somebody else be a co-sponsor of it, to keep us from just having people just the same, one person putting something on the agenda all the time or whatnot. And my feelings were that we should require a 2/3 vote to amend this document. So I don't know what anybody else thinks about that, but any opinions, Paul, Jim?
Yeah, sounds good.
No, it makes sense to me. I will say that one of the details aside, and I have personal, and I'm gonna save most of my remarks for next meeting. But I was appalled that, and having other discussions about other items that over the last year or so have appeared on the consent agenda when they're clearly not these otherwise benign items, right? Generally, the approval of payroll, we all on our own, if there's something, we always can pull things, but it's a general practice and frowned upon to place things that warrant legitimate discussion. And I don't know that there's any of us on the board who with a straight face can say that this is a ho-hum, benign, just another day in the park type of change. These are significant changes of what's being asked in this document. And last meeting, it was the bottom item on future agenda items. I didn't say anything because until if and when this appeared, we would bring it up. I was shocked to see this as a consent agenda item. I'm gonna leave my comments at that, and I'll reserve those comments when we have a full board here. But I find it appalling, especially in light of the fact that this has happened at least a couple other times since serving on this board under this current administration.
Trustee Namathi, do you have any comments?
No, I didn't raise my hand. You good?
Okay. Treasurer Brown? Good, okay. I obviously look at this as a way of trying to control input. Anybody that, personally, I'm the one who puts things on the agenda that people don't like, so to say now you gotta have 2 of us is kind of a, you'd have to be kind of a fool not to see what we're doing here. I was surprised to see Carrie supported it. I was disappointed that the agenda and the MAIF only talks, the only thing mentioned in the whole entire MAFE, and it's a full entire page, is how to control trustees from putting stuff on the agenda and needing support. It doesn't mention anything about removing the roll call vote. It doesn't mention anything about moving up deadlines. It doesn't mention anything about the fees for meetings. None of that was even in the MAFE. So you had to dig into it to find what they were really asking for. And typically a MAFE, if you're being forthright and transparent, it kind of hits the highlights, because I hit the highlights for you guys. It wasn't all that complicated to at least list what the relevant changes were being proposed. The MAFE itself, I found just really a bunch of gibberish to try to push this through. These are the best practices in municipal governance, and this is the reasons that we're using to justify it. Ensures the agenda items have at least minimal board interest before taking staff time or meeting time. So if I have an issue that I want to bring to the public that I think is important, apparently it needs to have minimal board interest, not public interest, but minimal board interest before it can be presented. So that would fix that problem. Reduce the number of late-stage, incomplete, and interval interest items that can disrupt agenda flow. I don't know, we'll have to talk about that in drinks later, what that means. Reduce the number, or encourage trustees to collaborate and discuss issues with one another prior to formal placement on the agenda. So I'm not sure what that means. It doesn't say collaborate, but it sounds like that's what we're trying, I try to refrain from getting too deep into the weeds with other board members until we've got all the facts and public input. So I don't know, encouraging collaboration and discussions behind closed doors, I don't know that that helps, but it also, this will maintain full transparency.
Excuse me really quick.
Yes.
Was that sentence actually on there?
Which one?
Collaborating behind closed doors?
No.
Okay, I'm just thinking you need to be careful, because it looks like you're reading that, and that is not what was said.
Yeah.
So
I
please
thought
just.
I made it clear that
Nope.
was a judgment call, but I apologize. Maintains full transparency and keeps the public agenda focused, organized, and ready for action. So that was the block of reasoning for all of these changes that is on the MAFE. Again, not having any other, having anything else about the rest of the items that were concealed inside of the document. So I'm certainly not in favor of any of this. We voted on this last January as a good document of transparency and board behavior. We all agreed to it unanimously. I'm not aware of anything that's happened this year that would trigger the need for less transparency or board support. So again, they're not here to why they came through with it, but that's what this document says. So I'm certainly not in favor of it, of any of these changes, but except for Dave's.
Well, and I think
I have the
I'm
changes.
sorry.
And
Trustee Nalmather, please.
thank you. One thing I am gonna point out, the fees about special meetings, that was discussed in length at one of our meetings. So that was not just a blind add-on on there. So I'd like that if someone has time to review, but we did talk about it here and how much we get paid for a special meeting, because it's not our regular rate. And we did talk about those fees. So that was an actual meeting where we had discussion as a board.
We did.
So, okay.
Yeah, but-
So that being on there is not a surprise. I'm just saying they didn't just come up with some of this. That was a discussion, and I'd like that out there, that was just talked about. And I think that's a good idea. So there's just not random things, and it's the taxpayers' money that pays us to be here.
Well,
So I'm just putting that out there, that was discussed and not just thrown on, because
so,
people are gonna get a bad perception about the whole thing, and it's not true.
okay, well, that's your opinion on that part, but we did talk about it, I agree. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, anyone who was there, we talked about the fees mirroring the costs. So we never talked about a flat rate, we never talked about $2,000, we never talked about it being even part of the board's procedural manual. We just generally talked about that the board should not endure the cost of someone requesting a special meeting. is for clarification. And we did have that conversation, but it wasn't, you know, we didn't talk about it being in this document, and we had no discussion about it. And I want to make a point. I don't know about the rest of you, but this is a document that governs the behavior of this board. I was not contacted to say, hey, do you have any suggestions? Hey, what do you think about these suggestions? I wasn't encouraged, or I didn't get to be collaborated with to figure out whether this was a good document to put forward. So there was no discussion. We didn't even know it was coming. We just happened to catch it at the end of a meeting, buried in a bunch of reports, you know. So if this wasn't what I think it is, it should have been discussed openly at a board meeting. We should have talked about fee schedules, and we should have had it as an agenda item, because it's a policy change that directly affects the people that are investing in our community. So,
Yeah.
Mr.
ahead.
Treasurer Brown hasn't had a chance.
Just a quick question, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
In your experience, how often do you see a requirement where agenda items require two trustees if something's being brought? I'm just curious as what goes on elsewhere.
I would say that's the norm. Okay, 2 trustees. I just off the top of my head, Orion, Oxford required 2 trustees.
And I would just point out that I don't think anything's been stopped from coming to the board, because there have been 2 trustees, more than 2 trustees, I think, on every issue that's come. So, not that I don't have an opinion on what we're gonna do here, because I need to hear from the clerk and the supervisor. I just want to point that out, that
Yeah.
sometimes things are put in place that'll probably never have an impact, because, you know, it's something, you know, there's gonna be 2 people interested in it.
But why?
I do agree with you when it comes to putting things on the consent agenda. And for me, if it's likely that something's gonna, you know, not be a unanimous decision, it has no business being on the consent agenda. And the board has the ability to take it off of there, but I with you, I agree. I'm not sure why that ended up there, so.
Yes,
Just because of germane
Go
to
ahead.
what's being discussed. No, this is the antithesis to transparency, seeing this on the consent agenda, because there is nobody on this board with a straight face. Aside from the fee schedules, yes, we all agreed conceptually that the first person got by, the second person, I believe, was, I don't
They were
think, they were charged. There was no question there. That is one but a myriad of changes that are quite profound and quite impactful to how this board conducts itself. And I think it's very dismissive. I'm doing my best to maintain a level of decorum tonight, and I'm gonna be even more expressive next meeting. But it's very dismissive in the way that the trustees are treated. It's important to understand, statutorily, we are equals. We are a board of 7. We are equals. The 3 full-times draw a salary and perform administrative functions as outlined in state statute, as outlined in our township ordinance. Aside from that, we all have equal, 100% equal voting rights. So why is it that this is being, if it was such a great idea, being buried in a consent agenda to require the trustees to have 2 people, and the full-time electeds can put anything on they want? They don't have to share their MAVES advance. I don't get a week's notice from the supervisor or any other full-timers that this is coming. I get this board packet, usually Friday afternoon if I'm lucky. Dismiss the weekends. I basically have a day and a half, if I'm lucky, to review this. And certainly I think the people that attend these meetings know that we take our job seriously here on the board. And it's insulting at best to see this on the consent agenda with the level of importance and the weight that this thing carries.
Trustee Hayward, please.
To be fair, I did read read through this, and I believe that the language does state that if, say, Paul wanted to bring something, I don't know,
Investment report?
no, not an investment report, but something that was out of his statutory duties, and I believe that the language does state that if, he'd have to have a co-sponsor as well, which is, I believe, in line with the other one. So he isn't, I don't think, if I did read that correctly, and I don't know, I know you've looked at it, obviously, but I think
Yeah, that's my
that was the
interpretation.
implication, that other than statutory things, they would also have to have a co-sponsor for this. So, my concern is this document important or not? That's what I want to know. Because it's important enough that we made changes on it, but not important enough to have it on on a regular agenda item to discuss it. So are we going to follow it? Then we need to follow it and make that decision, because obviously we're making changes to it. And even on it's funny, the rules itself say, the consent agenda combines agenda items that are routine in nature, not requiring discussion or independent action. So this document that was put under the consent agenda doesn't even fit the document's own description. And I didn't want, my point of bringing this up was for discussion and to make a motion to add something to it, but not to discuss or not to make a decision on the things. I think that it wouldn't be appropriate to make decisions on the items that were presented by two people that aren't here. But I do have a motion, but we still should hear from.
It was a board comment? Are you-
Yeah, for those comments, I'm done. But
Okay. Any other board comments right now? We'll send it out to the public for some comment first.
Just one point, if there is going to be a motion on the table, you're going to have to go through board comment again, which is fine.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
This is-
Yeah, we will. Anybody in the audience want to comment on this agenda item? Sure. Just go ahead and state your name and address again for the recorder, it's easier.
Sharon Basell, 5616 Nile Circle. This is really, aside from Sam, why I came. The last meeting minutes revealed some very interesting changes being proposed by certain trustees that I believe violate the rules of order of ethics codes but that I read from a special meeting that was held on February 1st, 2023. That was the best version I could find and published on the Independence Township website. So I'm here to ask you to table a few things on your agenda tonight, and here's why. I thought these were going to be discussed individually. I did not think, get the impression at all, that this was a one-off, because a couple of them are fine. I don't have any objections to them. So first, regarding the consent agenda item, I typed this up before, L2. Proposed amendments to the special rules of the trustee procedure, Rule 4 and Rule 5, eliminating the rule for requiring a roll call vote for resolutions. I object to. A resolution by our board is a serious matter, and it is in the best interest of our township residents that serious matters such as legally binding agreements, board salaries, buying or selling property, ballot question, investments are recorded for the full public review, both before they are presented and after a vote is taken, so our residents know how each trustee has voted on these very important issues regarding matters that we are concerned especially about when election decisions need to be reached. The 7 examples in your procedural rules is not a list that is all-inclusive, but those that are listed in the state of Michigan laws. This is a slippery slope to go down when you all have promised transparency for this community. And I respectfully request that this motion be removed and there were no changes to this. I agree with Mr. Tedder. This is a slippery slope. I do my research. I spent all day today looking at your website, trying to figure out what was legal and what was not for a dozen reasons. One of the biggest things I look at is who has voted for what and whether or not I agree with how they're running my township. If you don't take roll call votes and you change this, it is 30 seconds for you to take a roll call vote. It is silly for you not to take a roll call vote. Because what I look at is the minutes that are officially published. I can't go back and watch every single video. I can't watch every single meeting. So it's just lacking transparency, and it's just a cloak over everything you're doing. But secondly, regarding the consent agenda L2, the proposed amendments to the special rules of the trustee procedure, Rule 11, amending the rule to require a trustee to be supported at least one other trustee before being able to place an agenda on the published, place something on the published agenda. That is an absolute control move by the people that brought this forth. It is unconscionable. I didn't know they didn't discuss it with you guys. That is unconscionable. But it is also a clear violation of the Open Meetings Act. Changing the requirements to require a second board member to concur with them before adding an agenda item to the published agenda is a clear violation of the Open Meetings Act. This change requires the requesting board member to discuss a possible agenda item with other board members outside of a public meeting, perhaps resulting in the need for the trustees to discuss the board item with multiple trustees and board members until they can get someone to support it. This clearly violates Rule 3 in your own procedure manual of holding a quorum, when trustees are discussing board business without notifying the public. In addition, the supervisor, clerk, and treasurer trustees can put anything on the agenda that they personally deem exercising their statutory or charter duties. Given that the three trustees must interact and correspond with each other daily because they're paid positions in the township, the knowledge that just one more trustee may support a motion, but it no longer has the right to place an item on the agenda individually, will only serve to silence our duly elected officials from bringing concerns for this community to share the input about. It is clearly meant to silence people. And when if you're gonna, it's mostly Sam, he's gonna find somebody because he's upset with something he knows I would want to know. To go to all of you and discuss it individually, that is not the Open Meetings Act. That is not honorable. It needs to be discussed in a board meeting. And if you all say no, you all say no. As Mr. Tedder said, you are all equal. And this is not equal. And I request that it be removed.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience tonight? Seeing none, I'm going to go online. Anybody online have a comment on this particular topic?
Can I have 1 more minute?
Yes, go ahead.
Something on record. Do you want me to go back?
Yes, please. That's fine.
Sorry, who was it first? But I'm not saying. I do want to go on record that I totally disagree with this being put back on the agenda in a different spot, because I did my homework. I was fully prepared to come and discuss the things with you tonight. I was surprised because my husband wanted to see the agenda. It was removed. I wasn't going to come. I guarantee you there was a whole list of people who were going to be here. And they checked, and they looked, and it was taken off the agenda. And they didn't come. If you're going to vote to move this forward, that's not fair. Because next time, you're just going to vote on it. And the other two are going to be here, and they're going to give the rationale. And that is not the way our township should work. It was taken off, I don't believe it was 4 hours, Sam, because I was looking at it. And it was like 5 o'clock. And I ran it off for Jim, and it was changed. So whoever put it in may not have pressed go.
Thank you. Last chance online.
I think Ray's got her hand up.
Ray, you got your hand up?
Yes, I do. So first and foremost, I just want to totally back up what that lady said. I completely second it. And secondly, whomever submitted this, who removed it? I mean, you have two people Carrie and Chuck, who are not at the meeting tonight, but yet, apparently this was submitted by them and now it's removed. Well, who removed it? When did they remove it? But putting that, but again, I totally second and back up what that lady said just prior to speaking. But I just want to say this to all of the board members, all of them. Every person that's up there, and Carrie and Chuck who are not sitting up there. We as residents, and I feel that I'm not speaking only for Ray Llewellyn 9254 Pine Knob Road. I feel that I'm speaking for many, many, if not all of the residents of Independence Township. We have asked, pleaded, begged, whatever, asked, and we're told, hey, you're gonna get transparency with this new board. And we have, new people coming in, we have a new supervisor, it's all gonna be transparent. There's gonna be no little curtains up and no little, hiding behind stuff. Well, I am sorry to say, that is not what is happening right now. And it hasn't been happening for a while. And I think it's time, everyone on this board is over 18, so you're able to vote. Act as adults. Be transparent. We as the voters elected you. Respect us. You work, I different times have came up to the podium and said this. You work for us. We do not work for you. So, again, I'm trying to be polite. Please remember, you work for us, and we will respect you, but be transparent. The voters, the residents need to know what's going on. And this part about one trustee has to get another trustee to sign off, I thought everyone was equal. So whether I'm good friends with so-and-so or I'm bad friends with so-and-so, that I shouldn't need to go over and have to try and find a friend to sign off on something I want done. And as residents, we should be able to come to any of you people, whether it's the 4 trustees or the 3 elected officials. But most and absolutely number one importance is transparency. It's called transparent. And we are Independence Township, so we do have our independence. And don't wake people up too much, because we've been down this path before, and when people got woke up, others in the elected offices did not like the results. So thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Anyone else online? Bring it back up to the board for comment.
Well, I can't make a motion based on the rules that are here, the motion that I wanted to make, because essentially if I want to change an amendment, I have to follow the rules which state that I have to put that amendment on a future agenda item. And so, if I want to follow these rules, I have to, set that standard. And I can't make a motion for something that hasn't already been advertised, which the only thing we have advertised are the suggested changes from Supervisor File and Clerk Newbeck, so.
Okay.
It's just how it is. It says if we want to change this, any board member may propose amendments to the special rules of procedure. Proposed amendments shall be presented as an agenda item subject to Rule 11, which is the agenda item submitted by board members, which goes through all the rules of what we have to do to submit an agenda item. And then the amendments to special Board of Rules procedures shall not be adopted at the same meeting which they are introduced. So I can't introduce it today and have it adopted today. It's got to be advertised. So, and I'll tell you what it was. I just believe that we need a 2/3 vote. I believe this is an important document, but I'll bring it up and hopefully that, we'll be able to get that changed, because I don't, do you think that's appropriate for this document? To have a 2/3, just generally speaking, to have 2/3 instead of a simple
Oh,
majority?
and no, that's just a policy decision.
You
I
don't,
mean, yeah.
So you don't think it would make it doesn't?
No, I don't think that you need a legal opinion to decide whether it should
It's
be by
two-thirds or
majority.
not? Okay.
Yeah, or
If
two-thirds.
it's appropriate or not? Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
No
Well,
problem.
I want to ask
Thank
Dan
you.
a question real quick, Treasurer Brown. Why is this different? Every other document that comes to us that is a first reading, second readings, been advertised, we're allowed to make tweaks to it before before it's
Right.
voted on. Why can't we do that with this document?
Well, the first answer is it's not an ordinance, so it doesn't require two readings. That's number one. An ordinance is the law of the township, and you should, if not must, follow it. These are what I call bylaws, and bylaws would not invalidate a motion that was made in violation of the bylaws. A motion made in violation of an ordinance could be invalidated by a future court. So an ordinance has a higher standard. Bylaws are self-imposed rules that you should follow. Again, they would not necessarily invalidate a motion that was in violation of the bylaws. So it's the
So-
weight that they're giving.
So what you're
Yeah.
saying is, what he's saying is I would be a hypocrite, though, to
I can't
request a
imagine that he would
motion.
say that.
Well, but basically, that's it. So you're saying, what he's saying is I can do it, because there's no statute for it.
Well, that's
You know what
not,
I mean?
yeah,
But-
I'm not
Yeah,
encouraging you.
Right,
to-
no,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
I
he-
understand.
he-
No, I
yeah.
understand that I could do it. I mean, it's not the law. It says right here that,
Yeah, the
whatever, we
current, I
choose to
agree
do
with
it.
you. I was asked
Yeah.
whether I agree with your current interpretation of the current
Document, yeah.
bylaws, special rules
Yeah.
that we're following. I agree with that
and I choose if
interpretation.
we're gonna have these adopted and we're all gonna follow them, we're all gonna follow them.
All right.
So I'm not gonna
No.
supersede what they are.
Treasurer Brown?
So I always like to think that the board comes to these meetings, and they may have opinions on what they think the right thing to do is, but that they also listen to what everyone else says with an open mind. And so a couple things happened, and one of them was that I think I pointed out that the rule requiring two wouldn't have affected anything because there's been support for those. And that's true. I don't think there was anything that a trustee wanted to bring that he wouldn't have had the other support to have. But then later on, and I agree wholeheartedly with, and I think I've said it many times myself, with trustee Tedder, that on this board, we each have one vote, and we're equal. And so, to me, that's probably the most important thing that was said. And if that's the case, why would I require two members to support something when it's never even been an issue? And if I look down the road, and again, I've thought of all this just as I've sat here, I probably am not supportive of requiring two. And the board could always, if a trustee put things on and it was voted down 6-1, 6 times in a row, the board might change their mind and put that in place. But that's not happened here. And so, to me, we're trying to fix something that has not been a problem at this point, because there's always been at least two people who support it, if not three. And so I think we're getting way ahead of ourselves, fixing an issue that probably doesn't exist. And the overriding important thing is that we each have one vote. So how do I take that and my strong belief in that and say, but it takes two of you to do this? So I just want, you gotta keep an open mind when you're sitting up here on everything.
Anything? Okay. Well, I don't have the same feeling as Dave. Oh, Terry, please, go ahead, trustee Namathu.
I guess my question is for Mr. Kelly. Based on what this lady read with the people talking to other trustees, should it be going forward that we never have a MAF with two trustees on it, or actually two people in general? Because that would mean they talk to each other, and she said that shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So
it's not a
slippery
violation of
slope.
the Open Meetings Act.
Thank you.
Deliberations are a violation of the, first of all, agendas are exempt. And secondly, deliberations of a topic are a violation, it must be deliberations to be a violation of the Open Meetings Act. Calling another trustee to say, I'd like to put on an ordinance for tree enforcement is not a violation of the Open Meetings Act.
Thank you for clarifying.
Any other board comments? Okay, I think that this whole thing is a farce. I am gonna make a motion I'm fine with being a hypocrite if it protects the residents from a board that has been flaunting their muscle and disregarding everything and appears to be becoming a hindrance to getting the business of the people done. So I am going to make a motion that we stricken everything from this proposed document minus K, the cost recovery for special meetings that was asked for by petitioners to have a special board meeting. I think that is, if this is where you think it's appropriate, then this is where it's going to go. All the other things that they'd asked for, I would stricken, which is within my legal right, even not having to be a hypocrite, because it was presented, it is how it's drafted, and it did come to us before at the last meeting. So all of that is good. Where you can say I'm a hypocrite because I don't like playing with people who don't play fair, I'm going to make a motion, to add to my motion that we not change the content of it, but only that we change it to require a 2/3 vote for anything to be changed in the future, so that there's no rule changes, just that one particular policy change, and that's my motion. Any support?
I have a question for it.
We gotta get support first, then we can discuss it. Okay, good question
So my only issue is the two people who have the most input on this aren't here.
then. Yeah,
And I think maybe as I just demonstrated, sometimes people can tell you things that may change your opinion. So I don't like to try and do anything until they have an opportunity to weigh in on this. And so,
I think it's pretty self-explanatory what the document creates. We're basically just strickening out the lack of roll calls, the two-person needed, and that's it. And then we're adding the cost recovery. So we're basically, I don't know what they could bring to the table that would change any of that. The rest of it is the same. If it makes everybody happy, I'll throw in that we'll move up the time frame for submittals. So at least
Well, respectfully, I've held back a lot of my comments because there are not two people here. I think it's pretty clear where I stand. Also, with respect to the cost recovery, I think the $2,000 is a little egregious. Again, we're not a profit center. We are a government. We should cover costs, just like Chief Pichet reasonably wants to cover costs for services outside of what we maybe deem customary for our residents. And so I think $2,000 is egregious. Again, I'm not going to get into the policy discussion here, but I think that warrants discussion. I think it's a great idea. I'm 100% on board with it, but that could be a standalone item, at a near meeting. 100% against all the rest, and I certainly don't, hopefully, people come to their senses on the rest of the changes and so forth. But that's kind of where I'm at on that piece.
I think on the $2,000 thing, the $1,600, if all the trustees show up, that's the cost, leaves the $400 for publicating, announcing, clerical and stuff. So I agree that it seems like a lot, but if that's the case, it's really not much because we have a $1,600 hard cost on staff alone. So I don't think that 400, if we're gonna dial it in, I think it's gonna be a pretty minimal dial.
Yeah, or up to, because
You know what I mean?
not all trustees on short notice can make a meeting.
Exactly.
So maybe there's 2 trustees, 3 full-times, there's quorum, said business is done to the benefit of the applicant or the requester of the meeting. They save some money because there weren't trustees that were paid because they weren't here.
Would you be in favor of me amending my motion to say not to exceed? We're adding language based on the cost, because this is stuff that we can
Dan,
discuss,
Is it proper to be
Negotiating?
It is an open meeting, so but it should be more with the entire board, if that's the point. But what was your question?
No, he's tendering, an offer on an amendment, I guess I wholeheartedly hope this goes down in flames. I think that's pretty clear, but I would like also to have the ability to, express my thoughts maybe more clearly.
But isn't this the actual venue that, I mean, we're talking in public about it to get to a resolution?
No, I
How
agree.
else would
I
we
mean,
get
it's
to the
not
resolution?
inappropriate.
Behind closed
Yeah.
doors? I mean, how do we get to
No,
this?
no, I just
Okay.
said that. It's
Treasurer Brown has a comment,
an
please.
open meeting.
So, I go back to, we all have one vote. I do agree these are important, that the rules are very important. I would suggest that we shouldn't take any action right now, tonight, unless it's the action that says it requires a two-third vote to change this in the future. Then we can move it to the next meeting and have the full board here, and it requires two-thirds. If that's what's most important, and I feel like that's pretty important to get two-thirds, or maybe you shouldn't make the changes that prohibit the board. So, to me, let's make a motion to change that to two-thirds tonight, because we have enough people to do that, but not try to change anything else without the people who drafted this here to
I would accept
to
that.
change it.
I would accept that.
I would too.
That takes that gets it more even
Yep.
on the deliberation next time. Any input from the trustees at that end on that, if we only change it to the two-thirds vote? Trustee Nalmathu?
I just have a question, because you already brought up a motion before, but he never got a second.
No.
Yeah.
That's what I was
So-
going to check. I had my head
No,
down.
I
It
didn't.
was
No,
not
I-
second.
No
We're-
second.
No.
So,
Okay.
We have
does he have
It
to?
died.
Does he have to say anything, like I retract my motion?
No,
So,
it died.
okay.
There was no second.
Okay.
I'm going to make a new motion that,
Well, I'd like to make it, that's my idea.
okay,
Yeah, I'll make a motion to require a two-thirds vote of the board to make changes, amendments to the Board of Trustees, Board of Trustees rules. Is that it for me? Thanks. I wish I had longer arms.
Yes, it was actually Trustee
Yes.
Hayward's motion, but you sound really good doing it.
Oh, is that the one you were gonna make?
yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead,
Oh, absolutely.
I already said that,
I'm not gonna make it now. Go ahead.
no, Paul, I want you to.
Why don't you
Yeah,
second?
it's-
Well, that's-
It's the
So I'm
collaborative
gonna-
effort here.
I'm gonna make a motion to require a two-thirds majority to make changes or amendments of any kind to the special rules and procedures for the Board of Trustees Board.
Is there support?
Support.
Roll call, please.
I'm gonna try and pick a different order, because that was called out before too, and I'm trying.
Yeah, that's in the manual too.
It is.
Random.
Trustee Morocco,
Yes.
Treasurer Brown,
Yes?
Trustee Hayward,
Yes.
Trustee Nalamothu, yes. Trustee Tedder,
Yes.
and Supervisor File and Clerk Newbeck are not here. Motion carried.
Motion passes. All right, let's got through that. Okay, that was the last regular business. We do not have a closed session. We don't have any communications. We have a report from the fire department that's in the packet. And I would now be looking for a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
We still have
Comments?
board member-
Oh, board comments, I'm sorry.
comments.
Board member comments.
I would like to thank Trustee Nalamathu for taking the notes. I've done it for meetings. It's one of the hardest things to do when you're at a meeting, to try to get everything, and I appreciate her doing that.
Thank you.
And I honestly do.
Thank you, but you do love that they are recorded now, and you have something to fall back on
Yes.
for the details. So,
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is there any other board comments?
No, I really appreciate the way we came around at the end here. I think philosophically, what transpired up to the meeting, but the fact that there's a consensus that there should be a two-thirds vote for important changes to bylaws is obviously unanimously recognized by the five, and I wouldn't dispute and discount that the other two would have abided or supported that as well. So just put that out there.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Anyone else?
Motion to adjourn.
That's usually
Hey,
mine.
I know, but you're, I didn't want to overburden you with your other responsibilities.
Second.
She's writing the notes. She gets to decide.
Who seconded, Sam?
We'll end the
Yes,
meeting
we'll give it
then at
We have to have a vote.
7:55.
Gotta have
We
a
have to have a
vote.
vote.
All in
I'd like a roll
favor?
call.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, roll.
Aye.
Aye. Terry? Aye?
Aye.
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 Motion adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming
Thank you.
tonight.